UW360 is proudly supported by Pacific Office Automation, Copy, Print, Workflow, and IT. Problem solved. BECU, a not-for-profit member-owned credit union.
Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Douglas. Welcome to UW360. We're joining you from the University of Washington Medical Center. UWMC is one of the top academic medical centers in the country. And this is where a revolutionary experiment in collaborative healthcare is underway, one that could transform our nation's healthcare industry. We'll tell you all about that a little later in the show. We'll also see how a UW student overcame some incredible obstacles to pursue a lifelong dream of helping other moms like herself. Plus, after more than a century of play, the Husky Boys of Summer get a brand new baseball stadium to call home. And see how a group of UW alums is striving for a better work-life balance by using the age-old practice of storytelling. But first, millions of Americans, young and old, suffer from some level of hearing loss or deafness. A surgically implanted electronic device called a cochlear implant has helped many of those people, but the implants have flaws. So scientists at the University of Washington are addressing that problem. As UW360's Aaron Mayofsky reports, they're developing new software that's music to everyone's ears.
The beauty of sound and music. Most of us take it for granted in our daily lives. But not a team of scientists at the University of Washington.
I will play a sound demo.
For years, the UW team has aggressively researched patients who use cochlear implants, an electronic implant that helps hearing-challenged patients the ability to comprehend speech.
And then the device will sit back here approximately like this.
Now, the University of Washington has developed a new way of processing signals in cochlear patients to help them hear music, especially the difference between musical instruments like the flute or a cello. It's brand new for cochlear patients and a worldwide breakthrough.
It's the first time we've actually seen a signal processing strategy produce an improvement in music perception in a person who has a cochlear implant.
The days of not being able to hear in noisy restaurants or struggling to hear multiple people talking could soon be over. The University of Washington scientists believe hearing music has possible links to hearing advancement.
And that's what we work on. We come up with new ways of representing speech and representing music through the pattern that's on these electrodes. And what we've done is we've changed the standard approach. Here's the conventional processor, not the UW approach. Now I'm going to play the UW approach for the same song.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
One man who is already benefiting from the new technique of processing signals is Larry Crable. He went totally deaf years ago. Now, with the cochlear implant coupled with the brand new technology from the University of Washington, this former musician is getting his old life back.
What has really surprised me with going through hearing loss is that the memories are still there. And like for 2 years not recognizing music, and then all of a sudden, that's Jailhouse Rock. And right after that, that's a YMCA song.
So we're just looking at a larger scale. We're looking at improved quality of life. And music is so important. You know, it's a language that goes across different cultures, different countries, language that goes across different ages. So with the importance of music music has been to my life, to me it would be just really gratifying to see that this takes off and it is useful.
Dr. Rubenstein and Professor Atlas have another thing in common. They both have music in their blood. Dr. Rubenstein comes from a family of music engineers. His brother actually helped invent the iPod. Professor Atlas used to design amplifiers for rock musicians. When we come back, one woman's determination to help others transform their lives as UW360 continues. Welcome back to UW360. Our next story is about a UW student who had to overcome some incredible obstacles to pursue her dream. As a single mom, Renee Jones endured homelessness and domestic violence. Now she's a student at the UW School of Social Work who's using her experience to fulfill a lifelong mission of helping others in need. Mimi Gann has her story.
Students here at the School of Social Work at the UW often have a higher calling to help others in need. And there's one student whose turbulent past is giving her the courage to help others like her.
Today, I would describe my story as someone who has faced a lot of different challenges and has found ways to overcome a lot of different things to do exactly what I want to do and be exactly where I want to be. That's how I would describe my life.
26-year-old Renee Jones has not only overcome, she's triumphed as a student, activist, and mother. Hard to believe that just 3 years ago, she was homeless and struggling to survive.
I ended up in a domestic violence relationship. It was a slow progression of power and control that I didn't even see.
Renee was a young mother of 2 girls and believed she was in a loving relationship.
While I was in the situation, I didn't know I was in a violent relationship. I loved very much and cared about this person I was with.
Renee finally got the courage to flee and found refuge at a women's shelter.
I got to the shelter at 11 p.m. and I sat in that room and I cried on the bed.
She turned to the social worker for guidance.
And she handed me this paper that had this whole list of abusive behaviors on it, and she allowed me to self-identify as a survivor of domestic violence. That is when that light bulb went off and I realized I'm a survivor.
Renee also realized she wanted to help others like her, and that meant going back to school.
I think that the click for me was when I sat down with that social worker in the shelter. I realized that that was something I wanted to give to other people.
Mercy Housing provided Renee and her daughters a place to live while she attended Highline Community College.
Renee Jones with honors.
She graduated with honors and even delivered the commencement speech.
We are a community of survivors.
Renee continued to use her voice in Olympia. In 2012, when public assistance programs were on the chopping block, she spoke on behalf of Poverty Action Network.
I want to say that TANF is not a handout. It's an investment in our future.
That was a huge thing for me because I actually got to shake hands with legislators and do some policy work from the ground level and realize that one voice can make a change. Those budget cuts did not happen because I was there. Is the most empowering thing.
Determined more than ever to empower those in need, Renee applied to the University of Washington, one of the top social work programs in the country. Renee will never forget the day she got the good news.
And I cried. I did a dance in the park. I did a dance in the parking lot, and my kids were there, and they were like, "Mom, what's going on? What's wrong?" And I said, "Mommy got in. It gets to go to school."
We have a lot of students who are juggling parenting, work, actually volunteering in the community, but I don't know anyone who is more impressive actually than Renee.
In June, Renee will graduate with a bachelor's degree in social work, and next year she hopes to complete her master's. It's exactly where she wants to be.
I'm living it. I'm living my lifelong dream right now.
And she is allowing us, those of us that are in the faculty, to live ours. Because what do we want? Why are we in higher education? Well, we want the privilege of teaching people who will make a difference in the world.
I want to be the one handing that piece of paper, letting somebody else decide what kind of relationship they are in. That's what motivates me. That's what keeps me going, and that's what has pushed me through. And to be there for my children.
Our next story starts way back in 1901. That's when the first team of Husky baseball players took the field, which back then was actually just an old dirt lot. Over the years, they moved to a grass field and eventually to an actual ballpark. And now, after more than 110 years, the Husky Boys of Summer are getting a fantastic new home, the brand new Husky Baseball Stadium. Garth Swanson reports.
It's the grand old game, America's pastime, and it's been played on the shores of Lake Washington since the early 1900s.
Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Husky baseball is not as famous as its football and basketball campus cousins, but that is about to change.
This puts us in the same conversation because it says to potential recruits and their families that the University of Washington wants to go to the College World Series. The University of Washington wants to win a Pac-12 championship.
Head coach Lindsey Meggs is all smiles when talking about his team's new home.
You know, I want our fans to be rewarded for all the times that they've come out here in the past where this hasn't been a comfortable place to watch a game.
But enticing fans is only part of the equation. It's also about attracting top talent.
You've seen what the difference that has made for Oregon State. With Oregon building their new ballpark, I mean, they're in the living rooms of frontline players every year who have to consider them if they're considering playing in the Pac-12, and we think we'll be in the same conversation because of the facilities.
The original field was basically a sandlot right over here on Montlake Boulevard. The new park is right there, about a line drive away. But 100 years later, this is not your grandfather's ballpark.
To watch a baseball game against the backdrop of Mount Rainier and have the lake right there, and that is, I mean, the setting, you couldn't ask for a better setting for a ballpark.
Jeremy Baird is the project manager overseeing building the new park that features stadium seating, a full press box, a beautiful concourse, and upgraded concessions.
I'm an alumni, so I've always wanted to come back to UW and do something, so that in itself is something special.
So for us, you know, this is the center of our universe.
Not only is the construction manager a Husky, so is the stadium architect.
I went through the master's program for architecture. So as a Husky, former Husky, or I guess, you know, once a Husky, always a Husky.
So we're going to be TV ready for the Pac-12, for ESPN, anybody that comes in, we're fully cabled.
Designed and built by Huskies for Huskies. So what could make it better?
And I want other folks to say, you know, this is a place I want to come back to. I want to come back and watch a game because I had a nice experience at the concession stand. The music was great. The video was off the charts. Between the lines, they played hard, had success, and it's affordable, and it's just a great family opportunity. That's what we're hoping for.
The home baseball season has 24 games with tickets starting at just $6. For ticket information, go to gohuskies.com. When we come back, UW alumni seeking happiness through the power of storytelling as UW 360 continues. Welcome back to UW 360. It's often the first thing we talk about in the morning and the last thing we think about before bedtime, our jobs. Americans can be obsessed with their careers to the point that work dominates our lives. But some UW graduates are trying to change that. They've been meeting for the past 10 years and searching for a balance between work and life by practicing the ageless art of storytelling.
There's a line from a famous Chekhov story in which the protagonist muses, "Every man had his real, most interesting life under the cover of secrecy and under the cover of night." that project manager in the next cubicle, your kid's teacher. Who among us doesn't have a passion that feeds our soul in the hours outside of work?
So Lisa was going to...
For one group of Seattleites, that passion is writing fiction.
Introduce a plot point that sends the story forward. Professional and continuing education program, which is for adults. It covers the spectrum from people who just graduated to people who are retirement age and everything in between. What often happens...
Scott Driscoll, a writer and writing teacher in the UW PCE program for 21 years, has found that many people, while building a career and family, miss being creative.
So they left a career to stay home with kids, and now they want to put time into their creative life. That's the one thing they share in common. Their creative life matters to them. We cover methods and processes and crafts. This is for people who really want to get the writing done and maybe get published. Or if not, at least do it in a professional way. The class is just the start. What gets done outside the class is what really matters.
It was through one of Scott's classes at the UW that Christine Warasak began writing fiction and met the people who would become her writing group.
It took a little bit of cobbling together, but we ended up getting together to share our fiction and critique it using a lot of the things that we learned in Scott's class.
Oh, welcome, Gerard.
We come from different places. We didn't work together. It's not our spouses, friends. We come together for this one thing.
Andy, Rose, Gerard, Lisa, Bill, and Christine met more than 10 years ago through the UW's Professional and Continuing Education Fiction Writing Program.
The thing about writing prose, and this is one of the reasons why it's a good idea to take a class and why it's a good idea to have a critique group, is it's a very lonely, isolating process.
Once a month, the writing group gathers to share food, drink, and fiction they've written.
There's something about the challenge of trying to do this art well that keeps us all coming back to it. We all understand that. It's in my bag.
One of the happy outgrowths of taking classes is you meet peers who are as serious about it as you do, and who share the vocabulary and they share the knowledge of the process. And then they become your best critique audience, and they keep you honest and they keep you writing.
To pursue that craft, that art, that's what makes it worth it. That's what makes it meaningful. It really just means the world to all of us.
When we come back, an ambitious experiment to transform the healthcare industry as UW360 continues. Welcome back, everyone. One of the great challenges facing the healthcare industry today is a lack of communication. Doctors, nurses, and others in the medical community often don't talk to one another or know exactly what the other person is doing. But here at UW Medical Center, the University of Washington is embarking on a revolutionary experiment to change all that. 600 students from various departments are working together in teams to better understand how their respective disciplines can complement each other. As Bob Branham reports, it's a collaboration that could one day lead to better and less expensive health care.
University of Washington School of Nursing senior Nate Driesman transferred from a nursing program in California in part because of the university's reputation.
The UW is one of the top nursing programs in the U.S., so it's one of the best.
And in part because of a unique learning experience now underway in the U of W Health Sciences schools.
We are so glad to have the opportunity to work with all of you from all of the different schools today. We have a super interesting case to discuss, so let's just go ahead and jump right in.
What you're seeing is a new approach to educating future healthcare professionals.
From there, we'll break it down into a fishbone diagram.
An approach that teachers and students believe will result in better outcomes for patients and lower healthcare costs for everyone.
The name band was kind of watered down and damaged, so it didn't really look like a penicillin allergy, so I gave the medication and then he had this anaphylactic reaction.
It's called IPE, or Interprofessional Education. In other words, students of different healthcare fields talking together and working together so they can function better together as professionals when they graduate.
We educate our students right now, our health professional students, in silos,
And we wanted to get them out of their silos and have the chance to be educated as teams, because that's how they'll practice.
Sarah Shannon and Karen McDonough are helping lead this new approach, supported by a grant from the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation.
And if they don't understand, A, how to talk to each other, and B, what the roles and skills of each member of the team are, then the patient's not going to get as good care.
On this day, Sarah is training faculty for one of the 7 IPE sessions scheduled for this school year. The sessions involve more than 700 students from 6 schools across the health sciences: nursing, medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, public health, and social work. All sharing their knowledge to better understand how students in different healthcare fields can and should work together.
And some of their aha moments about, I didn't know that a pharmacist could, for instance, give vaccines, are really fun to witness.
And what's interesting about that is that the more that we start to talk about these things and some bigger issues, the more we realize, whoa, we're doing the same thing over here in nursing, or oh man, social work's dealing with that same public health issue, or wow, public health really does this well. I bet we could learn from them in this area.
It may be easy to see how this cross-learning can help the students, but how does it benefit patients? Karen says it can be as simple as nurses, pharmacists, and doctors failing to communicate well during a checkup, leaving the patient confused and concerned.
It makes you feel like, is anyone paying attention? Is anyone taking care of me? So even for relatively minor stuff, if you feel like, as the patient, the team is not talking to each other, it does not make you feel like you are well cared for.
This is the first full year of the IPE program at the University of Washington. But after a successful start, it appears certain this is an educational wave of the future.
We have launched into something that I don't think the students will let us quit doing.
Students here now and possibly across the United States soon.
I think that the more people who begin to see, wow, UW's really doing some cool stuff here, I bet they'll start to catch the wave a little bit.
Great idea.
It's really exciting.
That does it for this edition of UW 360. If you'd like more information about any of the stories you saw today, just visit our website at uwtv.org/UW360. And you can also look for us on YouTube and Facebook. Join us next time from the court at Alaska Airlines Arena, where we meet a special member of the UW basketball team and talk to Coach Romar. I'm Carolyn Douglas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with all news stories from the University of Washington.